So thank you for attending our session today. To be honest, our relationship with Ingrid started with several different projects between my university and Ingrid's and many others. So we've been working on flexible teaching, flexible learning, flexible education. Probably she's going to share with you the link to our current project, which is about to finish soon in some months. But let me give you a bit of information about Ingrid. She holds a degree in education, especially in teaching in higher education, and a PhD in multimedia education. She's currently associate professor and researcher in the Department of Educational Theories and Social Pedagogy at the University of Autònoma in Barcelona. She has been teaching and conducting research at both face-to-face and online universities in Spain, Italy, and Netherlands, and France. That's good. So she's having a lot of experiences in teaching. Probably she's doing a lot of flexible teaching and learning when working with different universities online, especially. Her research interests include teaching and learning in the digital society, as well as innovative teaching methods. She's leading several national and international projects focused on flipped classroom, which is the topic of our joint project, artificial intelligence, and innovative teaching. So the floor is yours, Ingrid. Thank you.
Thank you. Let's try to share the screen and see if it works. Okay, do you see my presentation? Yeah. Excellent. So thank you very much for inviting me. It's a pleasure. I would love to have a research group like that at my university. That's the truth. I'm Ingrid Noguera, and in this seminar, what I would like to do with you is to rethink teaching in higher education, and with this point of view on flexibility. Yeah? So Ken has presented me very well, but just to mention that at the UiB, I also belong to the ECIU project, which is a consortium of innovative universities. And I will mention this later on in an example of challenge-based learning, which is the main teaching method in this consortium. And also this FLET project, that is the one that we are finalizing together with Kenan. Yeah. As he said, I'm from the field of the theories of education. So for that reason, probably I will focus, or I like to start with this part, right, which is the theories of education. What I think is that in higher education, we just see a surface view of what teaching means in higher education, but there's a lot more under this line on which is the foundation for what we actually do in higher education. There are theories which are common to many of us. There are approaches to learning, there are modalities and methodologies. Okay, so this is what I will review during the following minutes, let's say. Yeah. So as for the educational theories, apart from cognitivism, behaviorism, that it's been present a lot till now, I believe there are two educational theories that are there and are more and more on the background of the teaching that we conduct at our universities. On the one hand, there is the constructivism way of understanding learning, which is this idea that each individual builds his or her own knowledge based on prior experiences, prior knowledge, so that each one reach a different kind of competencies and knowledge on a topic. Yeah, and this leads us to what we mainly all are applying nowadays of active learning, personalized learning, experiential learning. And on the other hand, it is far common nowadays, the social constructivism theory, which is this idea of, yes, we build knowledge individually based on our prior knowledge, but also we do it with others and in collaboration with others. Yeah, we learn from others and we learn with others in this social atmosphere where we all are. Yeah, this leads us to all the research and work done in relation to collaborative learning, social learning, interaction, and also this change in the role of the teacher as a facilitator, right? So I believe that the current atmosphere in higher education is based on these two educational theories. Yeah? Here there is a quotation that I like a lot from Piaget, where it is highlighted this idea of that we should let each, in that case, child, but is also for adults and young people, that we let them construct themselves, yeah, to reinvent themselves. And when we try to teach them, we don't let them to do that, right? And he says also that when we let them discover themselves, this knowledge that they get, which is meaningful, it is permanent. Yeah, it is for the whole life. And the truth is that I had this experience many years ago. I was teaching a course on educational theories and authors. It was based on lectures, so boring. And my students, after doing the exam, they remember nothing, right, about what I said. And then I changed it. I converted totally the way I taught them. It was then active based on role plays. And it's been like 20 years from this. And I still have students that write me and say, I remember what we learned during your courses. Yeah. So I think that this is constructivism, and we are doing that nowadays. Yeah. Also, I believe in the power of the zone of proximal development, which is associated to social constructivism. So you as an individual alone, if you want to build a house, you can get what we have in our left image, right? You can be better or worse in your competencies, but it can lead to something like that on your left. But then if you have colleagues, if you have people that know more than you, if you work in collaboration with others, if you learn from others, you can get what we have in the right image, right? So we can be better, we can learn better with others, yeah? And I think that this is something that we are promoting at the university and that we should promote more. Yeah? What about the learning approaches? To me, the underlying learning approach is active learning, but this is also distributed among three other approaches to learning, which is situated learning, contextualized learning, and meaningful learning. Yeah, at the end, all of them are saying our students need to be active in body and mind. Yeah, because just body is not enough. Yeah, but the context that we propose them, the scenarios that we propose them, needs to be meaningful, relevant for them, for their needs, but also to develop in the society they'll be, yeah, or in the profession they'll be, yeah. And many of the practices today at the university are about all these learning approaches. Yeah? And which are the modes of instruction that we are using at the university? With the modes of instruction, I mean the teaching delivery modes. Yeah. So basically, now we have face-to-face, that we all know, blended learning, online learning, and hybrid learning. Yeah, I'm gonna just summarize the way I see them. Yeah, because there's a lot of discussion on the meeting of each one of them, or at least for blended and hybrid learning. Yeah. So when I mean blended learning, I'm saying that we are in front of a teaching delivery mode where there is a balance between what we do in present and online. Yeah, because I have seen many teachers saying that they are applying a blended mode when the truth is that they are face-to-face and they're just using Moodle or a virtual learning environment. Yeah. So blended learning is a balance of the two worlds, but the focus still is in in-person learning. Yeah. But what it brings is flexibility to this in-person learning. And this flexibility also encompasses autonomous learning. Yeah, you can't be there all the time as a teacher. So students need to be more autonomous. And usually the face-to-face time is used for interaction and collaboration. Yeah. As for e-learning, when I was working at the Open University of Catalonia for 10 years, I saw a lot of definitions and confusion on the way people understand online learning, e-learning, virtual learning, distance learning. Yeah. So to me, distance learning is the umbrella concept. Yeah. To say everything that is not done in the same space at the same time. Okay. And in relation to that, we have online learning. That means that we are virtually connected at the same time. Yeah. And virtual learning or e-learning, that is when you have a technology, an environment that is supported by technology, and you can be either online or offline, synchronous or asynchronously connected. Yeah. It is more flexible for sure than blended learning. Yeah. And in that type of teaching mode, students need to be even more autonomous and even more self-regulated, which is not easy. Yeah. For that reason, also it is more oriented to lifelong learners than young students, even though if it's an increase in recent years. Yeah. And here the feedback given by the teacher is extended through all the day, right? And they need us to be there answering their questions. But one of the main problems is the teaching presence that they don't feel, and also the higher dropout rates that they have. Yeah, that it's last calculations, I think that said it's like 6-7 times more than face-to-face education. And I have lived that. Yeah, I really know that it is like that. Yeah. And now we have this approach, which is hybrid learning. Yeah, that Kenan knows a lot because he's leading now a project on that. Yeah. And in that approach, in that teaching mode, they understand that there is no distinction between in-person and virtual training. Yeah, you can continuously move from one to the other. So there, the focus is on learning and not on the context. And I really believe, I feel very comfortable with this teaching mode, because I think that it is the most close to what we are in reality. I can't say I'm just a physical person. I'm always here and there. I'm always connected and at the same time in person somewhere, right? So I think that education should go in that direction, yeah? what the statistics says, yeah? From 2022 to 23, there was an increase of people attending courses online or using learning resources online. You are here on the head front of this, also Spain. Here, half of the population said that they were learning online. Yeah? But then there is a report with a population of about 1,000 people, yeah, that say that people prefer on-site teaching, yeah, half of them, and also that they prefer to teach all their courses in the same mode, whether if it's online or face-to-face, but just one, not blended, not hybrid. Yeah? Also, if we look at some studies and literature on that, they say in the future, after the pandemic, the most meaningful way of teaching is blended, hybrid. And also, if we investigate about the Z generation, yeah, young students that are currently studying, there is no agreement on which is the preferred teaching mode. There are some that say face-to-face, other blended, other online. But the truth is that they all appreciate flexibility. And the ones that prefer face-to-face, they want some of the characteristics of online learning into face-to-face learning. Yeah. So what? When we arrive at that point, what should we do? Yeah, so the literature, the reports, the experts say one thing, and then in practice, it is not happening. There are some barriers, right? There's something that is not matching here. Yeah. And some years ago, I started to think, okay, so does present have the same meaning nowadays than years ago? What does it mean to be there? Because I don't know in your context, but I know that in many countries in Europe, students are not attending in-class lessons. Yeah, and this is growing. Yeah, and also many teachers are thinking, okay, it is enough to just have students there looking at me or not. Yeah, are they really actively learning or not, or just there? Yeah. I also started to think, can face-to-face teaching be more flexible? So if you are in a context like my context at the UiB and in Spain, where we can't choose blended learning teaching modes, can we teach in face-to-face in a more flexible way? Or what the question that led to the FLET project that I'll talk, can we design learning as scenarios that can fit for any context? So I came to this idea of flexibility. Yeah. So what flexibility means? First, in the literature and in practice, flexibility is something that is gaining attention for many reasons. One, because there is more demand for inclusive practices. I don't know which is your situation. Later on, you can explain me. But in our courses, we are having more and more students with special needs. Yeah, last year in a course of 80 students, I have among 20, 30 students with special needs. Yeah? And there is a higher demand for personalized learning. Also, we have many advancements on technology that make us easier than ever to be flexible. Yeah. There is this student-centered approach that we've been talking about. And also, for sure, the COVID pandemic forced us to be more flexible because we had to adapt quickly to the circumstances. Yeah. And this topic of globalization that is for many years and will be for many years in our educational sphere. Yeah. So what is flexibility? Years ago, people said that it's a way of overcoming the limitations of time place and rhythm. Yeah, I think that this is not enough to describe what flexibility is nowadays. Yeah, so we can distinguish also between flexible learning and flexible teaching. Yeah, flexible learning is giving options to students to meet their needs. Where if they are, it can be needs in relation to the goals, the resources, technology, whatever. And flexible teaching means an approach based on the course design that tries to help students in any context, any modality. Yeah. Within the FLET project, we try to overcome this and also understanding it as a teaching approach. We said that this is a way of offering learners possibilities to overcome any limitation, providing choices to meet their needs. And it doesn't matter in which context, so the context should be also one of the ways of meeting their needs. Yeah. In which ways we can make learning flexible? Rhythm, time, tools, resources, activities, grouping. Yeah. So, in summary, we could think of virtual learning environments that are somehow personalized. We can give options for virtual or face-to-face learning, for synchronous or asynchronous interaction. It is also important what we do in the physical space, because I have seen many research and experiences trying to adapt the virtual environment, but with very rigid physical spaces. Yeah, so the physical space should be also flexible and adaptable. The time, we can offer options to help them organize the time based on their lifestyle, and also giving options to consult and access resources at any time. It is important also to offer flexible pathways that can be adapted to maybe not to individual needs, but to group needs. Yeah, in every course we have types of students, those with some capabilities, those with some kind of prior knowledge. Yeah, and for that reason, it is very important also to conduct diagnostic assessment to know which are their needs and which are their expectations and goals. Yeah, the resources we can provide possibilities to consult resources in different sets or different formats. And also we could be more flexible on the way we reschedule deadlines, the way they group. Also to propose learning activities, assessment activities that can be performed in different groups. Yeah, and also to give students the opportunity to deliver assessment activities in different formats. Yeah, we tend to ask them to do the same all together in the same format. Yeah. And then at that point, if we are talking about flexible education, active learning, significant spaces, my question is, how do we teach in a flexible way? Yeah, which are the teaching methods that we can use? For sure, you all know, and probably you'll use project-based learning, yeah, or problem-based learning, yeah. But there are other ways of providing teaching that can be flexible. Yeah? So one is challenge-based learning, yeah, that we know is a way of proposing a problem which is based on a need, a real need taken from the society, where students must, usually in group, actively think which is the best solution, which is an open solution, yeah, and where they develop their competencies. Yeah? In that sense, apart from what we do individually in our courses or in collaboration with our colleagues from other courses, I would like to highlight the work that it's been done at the HCIU. Yeah? Here we are proposing learning opportunities for lifelong learners. Yeah? It is challenge-based. We are proposing courses, but also micro-modules. And we collaborate with many different institutions and challenge providers from the society that from time to time they say, okay, there is that need, please make people, learners work on that and provide solutions. Yeah, and then when they collaborate or work on that, they get a micro credential or any kind of certificate on that. Yeah. Here is the last challenge that we proposed, that was to create an AI assistant for the ECIU. Yeah? And that, I have to say that we received many applications, great applications from all Europe. Yeah? Another one which is very well known and used in many disciplines, but most of all in health sciences and educational sciences, which is case-based learning, where you give a context, very detailed. It can be a moral situation, it can be a conflict, a piece of news, or an interview, yeah, with an open challenge, yeah, and open situation where the students must work in groups to give a solution and to usually answer a question. Here we have used this in many courses. For instance, in a postgraduate on teaching digital competence, we provided a small case, which is you must design an intervention using technologies in education. I'm sorry, because you will see examples in Catalan, in Spanish, in English, but this is our situation in Catalonia. Yeah. So from this first case, we gave them 3 options, 3 other scenarios that they could choose, and in that sense, each student choose an activity at the end and a solution for that activity. Yeah. And the last one, the last teaching method that I think that it is the one that fit more with the idea of flexible education. And in fact, I will say that flipped classroom is not a teaching method, but a model. Yeah. It is flipped classroom. You know, it is this idea of inverting what we did in class, that now is consulting resources and performing some activities in our autonomous time, and using the in-class time for discussion and solving doubts, yeah, with the use of technologies. Yeah? And here I wanted to present some projects that I have been leading on flipped classroom. Yeah? So there was one that was a starting project where we wanted to design learning sequences for active and self-regulated learning. Yeah? We were participating here 11 teachers from education sciences, sociology, and economics. And it was kind of exploratory research. Yeah? What we found, in all cases, the satisfaction of our students increased. Yeah. Also the workload of our students and our workload. And we started to solve, there was something related to self-regulation skills that was affecting the satisfaction of our students. Yeah. Well, here is just the example of the infographics that we created with all the strategies for active learning and self-regulation, and also the 7 sequences that we created. You can consulted here. Yeah. But based on these results, here are some articles. We conducted a second research, which was more focused on strategies for self-regulation and to analyze these regulation profiles that could be affecting the satisfaction and also the performance in flipped classroom. Here, there were 14 teachers participating from different fields, also bioinformatics, economics, and so on. And what we saw was that there were three types of profiles of regulation. One was the students that were skilled on self-regulation. They had no difficulties to self-regulate their time and their learning. There were students that needed external regulation, a teacher, a resource, or a colleague. And the most difficult of all, there were students that had no notion about self-regulation. So they didn't think this was something important, and they didn't rely on that, yeah? So at the end, we have like 35% for each one, but if you sum up, there were 70% of students in all disciplines that didn't have self-regulation strategies or skills. It means that flipped classroom and flexible scenarios like the ones that we propose just worked for 30% of our students. Here also more resources we created. Also, we came to the idea of personalizing learning activities. So we tried and we saw it was working, the idea of proposing an activity with three types of instructions. So for instance, reading an article, and then for the students with more self-regulation skills, it was enough to say, there are three questions, please answer them. But then there were other students that needed more much instructions, yeah, like this. You created a table with the main points, and then you asked your students to highlight the main ideas for each one of the dimensions, yeah? So at the end, we saw that we could create the same activity with different types of instructions, depending on the self-regulation skills of our students, yeah? Another article. Then there was another project that was focused on personalizing learning through the use of technologies, and mainly we used artificial intelligence here in the context of the flipped classroom. Yeah. So here we participated 6 teachers. This is in Catalan, but what our students said was that using AI for personalizing learning in flipped classroom helped them. Yeah, they felt that they profited more the time in class and out of the class, and also they felt they had more support and more feedback, and they were at the end happy with this proposal and this use of AI. Here, more infographics and interactive resources we created. And at the end, the FLEX project. Yeah, I have to say that this project was probably mixing all these inputs from other projects and researches that I conducted before, and also the people from the consortium. Yeah, the FLEX project is based on a consortium of 6 universities from 5 countries. Here there is a Stavanger University near you. Is a cooperation partnership that is almost finishing in 3 months. Yeah, will be in for 2.5 years. Our objective was to help teachers, faculty teachers, to design effective, flexible learning scenarios. Yeah? Because we had the experience of reading many articles and knowing many experiences of teachers that applied the flipped classroom in a wrong manner or in an effective manner. Yeah. So what did we do? We created two frameworks. One on flexible education that was led by Kenan, and also a handbook for inclusion in flipped classroom. And we worked under the concept of scaffolding. Usually when we talk about the scaffolding is oriented to students, but in this project it was oriented to teachers. How can we help teachers give hints and instructions and be there when designing learning scenarios for flexible education? Yeah. So how we did it? Based on pedagogical patterns. A pedagogical pattern is a structure of recommendations given based on a main problem or difficulty that is taken, in that case, on evidence from research and scientific investigations. Yeah? So we created like what we said, meta pattern, but then 3 patterns that were based on the 3 main problems that we encountered on flipped classroom, which is self-regulation. How do we do for students to prepare before class? Because if not, flipped classroom doesn't work. Team regulation, what to do in class within teams to make it work. And also the exchange of constructive feedback among students. And then we created sets of hints that were introduced in a tool that I will talk about on the use of technologies, self-regulation skills, and inclusion for students with special needs. This is the tool. Well, I'm not going to show the tool. You have here the QR to access it. But basically, it is a tool where you first choose one of the patterns or a combination of patterns, and then you have a space where you can build your learning scenario. And as far as you are creating the scenario, you are receiving hints associated to the point that you are, in the learning design. We piloted this with 21 peers of teachers in all our universities for almost a year. And well, this is what you get at the end. So the learning scenarios created into the tool that are shared for others to reuse it. As for the evaluation, I have to say that teachers thought, and also the students that participated, that their designs improved thanks to this process of redesign of learning scenarios. Flipped classroom was implemented in a more effective way. But one of the remaining challenges is the inclusiveness, because when you are designing, you don't usually know which special needs your students will have. You don't know it until you are in class with your students. So it is difficult to design for them, for their specific needs. I wanted to say also that we are now preparing a MOOC where we will put all this together in a course that will be self-paced and that you can for sure follow if you want and attend. And there will be also a multiplier event on April 10th when we will present the results of our project. So considering all of that, how I imagine the future of flexible education. I'm sure that there are emerging trends on AI, virtual reality, augmented reality that will affect the way we implement flexible education. So for instance, AI can help us a lot on personalizing learning paths, on automated assessment, and also on the use of AI tutors. Yeah? Also, I think that there will be an increase of immersive learning, and even also on the use of tools for remote practical learning. And there will be, based on that, an evolution of hybrid models. So to sum up, how I envisage the situation of higher education from now on, I think that it will be more based on social constructivism. It will continue to be active, based on active and experiential learning. We will need to provide more personalized learning. Then we will need to work more on strategies to help students self-regulate their learning. I do think that the distinction of face-to-face and online learning won't work anymore. To me, everything will be blended or hybrid. It will be AI-driven, and we should profit more the opportunities for immersive learning. Yeah? So there are some questions that I open for discussion. Which do you think are the benefits of hybrid learning? Which are the challenges do you think there are also for this type of models? Because, for instance, Xavier and I have many problems at the UiB to implement anything that is not face-to-face learning. How can also institutions support the adaptation of these emerging flexible models? Also, this idea of designing learning for any context, do you believe it is possible or not? And what role do you think that AI and virtual reality will play in the future of education in terms of flexibility, personalization, and so on? Thank you very much. These are my contact spaces, for you to continue also the discussion. Thanks for listening to me.
Thank you very much. Is it easy for you, since you have it on the PowerPoint, to like put those questions into the chat so that we can keep them visible to us, but also not have the screen share taking up all of our together space? And while you're doing that, if it's possible, if not fair for me to ask you this question, I'm in this HighCom project with you and Xavier and Kenan and others, and my question about this has always been, what is the threshold for flexible when we talk about flexible? How flexible does it have to be considered flexible? Make sense?
Yeah, well, I would like to open the floor to anyone, but to continue talking, because I think that many people here could answer, right? But flexibility is a big concept, very imprecise, right? So I think that there are many options for flexibility, as well as for the implementation of technologies. I will say that there are levels of flexibility, So we can go from the smallest way of flexibilizing learning to the highest, right?
Yeah. And maybe we need to consider how much teachers are giving flexibility, and then how much students are asking for flexibility. So what are the students' demands, and then what are the teachers' possibilities for opening flexibility in their design? Because, I mean, in our project, we call it high flex. As the term suggests, it refers to the flexibility that students choose from. But whereas flexible teaching and learning is mainly managed and imposed by the teacher's decisions. Am I right, Ingrid? This is, I think, what Brian, who is also going to join us in Istanbul, is arguing for. Like high flex is different from normal flexibility because students' choice is prioritized. Yeah. I mean, Robert, you can ask Rob, you can ask this question to yourself: how flexible you could be in your course design, for example. What are your limits?
I don't do flexible. No,
Yeah, but
just
you
plain.
have flexible aspects in your courses. I know we're teaching together, but
I know.
what are your limits? I mean, what would you like to set as flexible?
I mean, when I think about this, and I think about, the group of people in this room, and it's interesting talking with Ingrid and Xavier about how inflexible your university is on being able to do this. And our university is probably more open to the idea here in Bergen as an institution, but I'm concerned with our ability to sell the notion to other, to teachers because it sounds like a lot of work to design your learning environment to be able to function in all of these different modalities. And one of the things that got me on board, emotionally, I guess, and or at least from a commitment standpoint with this HiCom project is that there are ways to strategize making it more efficient and how to um, make it flexible where you can make it flexible, but you don't always have to be absolute about everything. But um, finding shortcuts to make it a little bit more doable rather than just this taking 10 times longer preparation to make it happen.
Yeah.
And so how can we make that go to get it there? But instead of me babbling, we've got some hands up, and Arisa asked a question early on, and I think it might be worth to start with him. He put it in the chat. If faculty prefer one mode of teaching, doesn't this pose a challenge to hybrid learning? And Ingrid, I'd say now answered absolutely, but is there a way to push back on that? Is it all about faculty preferences? Is it how does that all go? But okay, so how about you, Hans-Georg? You want to ask your question?
I have a question I can ask later if.
Oh, yeah, there you go.
I'm unmuted if I still have the floor.
Yeah, you have the floor.
Yes, I'm always lost when we start talking about flexible learning, because when that discussion starts, there tend to be a tacit assumption that we know exactly what we are going to teach. We know exactly what the students have to learn. So there's absolutely no flexibility in adapting to the students. We have a syllabus, and the question is how to make that available so that the students can do whatever they want when they want it, and don't have to stick to a schedule. And the problem with that is, of course, that, well, that's the medieval approach. The medieval university taught that way, but it didn't work because then you fail to interpret the syllabus or the knowledge in the context where you live, and in particular where the students live. if we students are actually going to learn what they need to learn, that is how to understand the subject matter in their own context. We as teachers have to listen to where they are. We need to discuss it. It isn't something that we can explain and write down and the students can retrieve when they need it. It is something that requires two-way interaction. And that means that we have to be present in the same space to have that interaction. And I haven't really seen anybody succeeding in doing that online. I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm just saying that it's so incredibly hard that I haven't seen anybody succeeding. And if we try to do it hybrid spaces, it's even harder. It's extremely hard to pay attention both to an on-site community and a remote community at the same time. So, I mean, I think the question is, can we be flexible on both those axes, both flexible in time and space and flexible enough to interpret the knowledge in the context where we have to apply it? And that is completely missing from the debate as far as I've seen.
Somebody needs to answer his question.
Yeah, I do agree. I think it is so difficult to have students on site and online and to make it work. Also considering the ratio of students that we have. So in our case, we have groups of 80 students. So that's a nightmare. So it's almost impossible to do. But I also agree that we are used to prepare everything before it happens and to continue delivering that no matter what happens, right? And I believe that we should change our mind. We can't prepare everything in advance, yeah, in that context that where we are, yeah. We should be more on demand and creating resources as far as the course advances. But for that to work, we need changes in the number of students that we have, in our training, and also the evaluation system, and so on. Yeah.
But Rob, can I ask my question or shall I wait?
If it's in direct, I mean, why don't we call the hands? If you're responding to the current conversation, then perhaps. But Ariel and Xavier have had their hands up for a while.
Yeah.
But I guess you sort of did too.
I can wait. Yeah.
We got time. Ariel?
Yeah, thank you very much for your presentation. I don't have as much of a question, maybe more of a comment, because and form it in a question. Who is today's student, and who is the student of tomorrow? Flexibility is also adjusting to the students. So at the University of Bergen, in Norway now, the average age of university students is close to 28 years. And we get more and more people who are 30 plus. And in a lifelong perspective, who will the students of tomorrow be? And what kind of flexibility does that demand on us, really? When I started at university, I could take for granted that my students, they would be 20, 21, not much older. Today, Norway has the third oldest student population in Europe after Iceland and Finland. So it's yeah, there are some extra challenges there, maybe.
But Aris, do you mean that we need to be more flexible because new student profile is different and they might need more time, space, and opportunities differently?
Yeah, and also this idea about technology, how technology advanced are the 30 plus or the 40 plus. Yeah.
Yeah, as for that, the truth is that I have just started a project on the generation of the students that we have nowadays. The truth is that I think this is not the norm at European universities. We still have students about 20 years old, 20 something. Yeah, this is more the profile at online universities. Yeah. But as for the students that are now at the university and will be in the future entering into our university, which is Z generation by now, what we know is that they are more diverse than ever. Yeah, they are students from diverse origins with more special needs, diagnostic needs. Also, our students with more technological capabilities, so digital competence. But we also know that they are, as for the approaches to learning, that there is this deep surface. They are more surface learning, yeah, which it will have a big impact also in our teaching, yeah, because we won't have this big amount of students that really want to learn, yeah. So most of our students will just want the certificate and just continue with their lives, yeah. And we also know that they have less attention capacity, which also makes our teaching more difficult, but it means that we need to change more the dynamics of our classrooms. Yeah? So I think that the students that we'll have are the people that we are seeing nowadays in our society. So people who is all the time connected, that have diverse needs, expectations, preferences. Yeah, it doesn't mean that we must adapt to all of that. I mean, we are not social networks, and we shouldn't act as social networks, like providing 1 minute videos with just one idea. I don't think so. I do believe that we still need to prompt critical reflection, yeah, in our students, and make them read, and all of the things that they don't do in their daily lives. Yeah? But the truth is that these students are much more different from other generations, than the generations of the students that we have had in our classrooms. Yeah, so it means that we need to do something different, because if not, they won't attend.
Good point. That is a challenge both for flexible learning and for inflexible learning. Just the traditional classrooms, it's the same kind of challenge, and we have to. And I think that's one of the promises of this idea in the first place is, we have a system. I mean, a lot of the things that we complain about our students these days are the students are that way because we made them that way. We complain about how students don't learn the way we want them to, but they learn the way we want them to, or they learn the way they do because we assess them the way that we assess them, and that we drive them to learn the way that we're going to test them, and that leads them in the wrong direction. And so we need to just totally rethink how we're going about this teaching and learning enterprise. And these kinds of ideas, Ingrid, I think are very important. So, Xavier.
Thank you. I wanted to make a general point on the challenges, and then to add a very small and narrow reflection on my experience. In the previous project with Kenan, we found out, we investigated how teachers, or we asked teachers and leaders from 6 universities based in Norway, Poland, France, Spain, and Portugal. What did they think about the potential of digital technology to help them enhance their teaching? We found out that the leaders were quite enthusiastic about it, but only in 2 cases, which were Stavanger and Warsaw. The teachers were really interested in applying these tools in a significant way. In the other ones, most of them were reactive to say, well, we had to do it during the special period of emergency remote teaching, but afterwards we prefer not to do it very much. Well, this is not a very surprising finding in education policy, because actually there is normally a gap between the discourse and the practice, and actually it's not quite surprising that the leaders, and even we also check some official documents, and it is not also surprising that there is a very wide-ranging policy frame, but it's not really reflecting the actual practices in the classroom or in educational programs. So this is my general reflection. I think that we have to think about this challenge. The technology is changing quite rapidly, but organization is not doing so at the same pace. My small suggestion is that I think that, or my intuition, according to my experience my experience is restricted to Catalan universities for a long time, because I started teaching in the 90s, but I think that we can, or that a sensitive component of the organization is the way we evaluate teaching as an institution, in an institutional evaluation of teaching. If we can imagine systems that actually provide information about what the students are really learning, or to what extent the students are really developing self-regulatory regulation strategies, something like that, it would be much easier to everybody to make meaningful decisions on what to do. However, according to my experience in these 30 years, there are many systems that evaluate student satisfaction or teachers' individual merits that do not provide any significant information of what is really happening in different educational programs. And my question is, to what extent your experience is, what's your experience about that? Do you think that institutional evaluation of teaching can really help, can provide information that really unveils some problems that perhaps more flexible and hybrid teaching could solve? Thank you.
Yeah, it's nice to hear that, Xavier, because I'm coordinating a project on the evaluation of innovation in teaching at all Catalan universities. So we are working on that, and there is at the public Catalan universities we have seen that. Yeah, they have seen that it is not clear how teachers should innovate, and which data we use to know if there's innovations and these ways of doing, if they are working or not. Yeah, so there's now a proposal of indicators to measure this, yeah, which is in line to what you were saying. Yeah, so at our universities, this will be the problem that I'm seeing more clearly is the way of collecting this data. Yeah, because, for instance, open universities have it more well structured and easier to take from the virtual spaces and so on, and that's not the case in face-to-face universities. So it will take time to know which information from what could be taken to be able to make decisions based on that. But I'm here working.
Excellent. Kenan, now you can ask your question.
Yeah, I was wondering, given the challenges in which flexibility or high flexibility imposes on people in the form of kind of workload or other responsibilities that they see extra or additional burden. How could we use AI to reduce that or to enhance the efficiency of integration of flexibility in the course design without overwhelming the teachers and the students, offering really options and choices for students to choose, or making life easier for ourselves where students are absent but can actually asynchronously attend our courses and complete tasks. What could be the potential use of AI? I mean, this is actually what we are after in our current project. And to some extent, when I talk to people, they sound hopeless, including partially Rob, but there are also seeing that as an opportunity to explore new instructional designs and maybe new competences for people. So how could we incorporate AI to enhance flexibility? I wonder Ingrid's ideas on that we will share, but maybe it's good to share here. And also maybe the audience, if there are people who would like to give us some insights on that.
Yeah, there was a question also about automated assessment with AI, so I can put everything together. Yeah, I think that it will help us a lot from the point of view of the teacher, but also the student. Yeah, from the point of view of the teacher, it can help us in learning design, just first of all, in designing learning, in imagining ways of providing teaching, in designing learning activities, in giving us different options for learning activities. So in that sense, it helps us in the personalization of learning. So you can ask ChatGPT, I have that activity, could you create an equivalent activity for students with that special need, or for students with more self-regulation strategies, or for students, whatever. Yeah. So you can easily create new options on learning design. Yeah. Also, in terms of a multi-format, yeah, it is so easy to create your resources in different formats in seconds. Yeah, so that helps a lot also in making education more flexible and adaptable to all needs. Yeah. Also, in terms of tutoring, yeah, one of the biggest benefits of AI, I think it is in terms of tutoring students. Yeah, they can help them solve doubts, explain aspects that are not clear from the lessons, solve frequent questions. Yeah, you can train a chatbot or on that terms. In fact, Moodle, for instance, has a plugin for that. Also in terms of assessment, yeah. So we can use AI to give feedback, automatic feedback to students. Also to assess essays or written responses using a rubric. You can put your rubric and then ask to evaluate that delivery, and other aspects on assessment. I think that these are the main ones, that it will be more probably in the future, but what this makes is to maintain the teacher just in the role of interaction, direct contact with the student, and all other activities which are more administrative can be given to AI or can be facilitated by AI.
Yeah, but you agree that we could reduce the workload that could be, brought about by the flexible aspects that teachers need to create for their courses. The options that they need to give could be automatically or partially manually done by AI, right?
Yeah, but what is necessary is this digital competence of teachers,
Yeah.
Because you need to know what to ask to AI tools to get the best response and to be able to critically review that response or that result and to refine it if necessary. Yeah.
Exactly. I see. Is there anyone else who would like to? Yeah, Xavier?
Just a very egoistic question. If we learn to transform rubrics into prompts in an AI-driven chat box, do you think we can assess assignments more quickly? But that's egoism because it's really a time-consuming and exhausting task. Would that be real feasible? Probably it's feasible, but would that be reliable? Or would you need to train AI continuously, and then it would take a long time in each course to do that in a reliable way?
Well, I've tried that and it works. Yeah. The pity is that, for instance, ChatGPT is very assertive. Yeah. So I'm usually more critical than ChatGPT on the evaluation because ChatGPT always says, "That's beautiful, you did a good work," and you need to train the tool to say, okay, it's not that good. I mean, highlight please the good aspects, but also the ones that can be improved. Yeah. But with just few iterations, I got a very good response with ChatGPT in evaluating projects just based on a rubric given by me. Yeah. The other aspect is the ethics and the use, of information which is personal from students, and well, it requires more reflection, but technically is possible.
Well, I was thinking of an institutional tool, not just any tool, of course.
Yeah, but anyway, even our institutional tool at the end, as far as I know, is not that private.
Okay, so that's an important issue.
Yeah.
I think it also comes down to, and I'll come forward with my own bias as somebody who taught first year university writing for many years, that it depends on what the point of the assessment is. I was teaching an intro to university teaching course yesterday here in Bergen, and somebody asked about AI, and I said it depends on what you're assessing. The ChatGPT scares everybody about cheating on exams because we ask questions on our exams that are things that AI can answer, and I think that AI can probably assess answers that it can give, but are those the kind of questions we really need to be asking on our exams? And if we go for something deeper, then it becomes a little bit more complicated. But I could go for 30 minutes on that, and George has his hand up, so although he put it back down because he probably figured out to be talking for the rest of the time, but I'll give him the mic.
I feel the discussion is a bit upside down. I mean, flexible education is hardly new. The education we had 30 years ago was perfectly flexible. The only inflexible point was the summative assessment, which meant that you had to be in a certain time and space just to be assessed. Other than that, you just picked up the syllabus at the start of the semester and you learned the material. There were some offers here and there in lectures and colloquia, but they were as a general rule, never worth attending. Few exceptions. So what are we really trying to change when we talk about flexible education? Shouldn't we rather ask what kind of offers add value to the students, rather than asking how can we make the existing offers more flexible without actually asking whether they help the students or not?
Yeah, well, to me, it is a really big change, because I don't think the degrees, for instance, the way we have it now, it makes sense for the future. Who wants a degree on education? Who wants a degree on economics? Yeah? In the future, what people will have will be knowledge on this, that, and that. Yeah. So each one will create their pathway. Yeah. So in that sense, I think that we should be more flexible to let anyone decide which pathway, because at the end, when you work in an institution or an office, what I have seen is that people in many occasions, they don't work in the field they were trained, or they have different training that they have been acquiring in different courses or spheres of their life. And also from the open universities, what I saw is that, for instance, they open courses every month. Yeah, we don't do that. Yeah, we have this skeleton which is rigid, which is with 6 months or 3 or whatever, and that's not flexible. Yeah, it could be more. Let's say it could be more flexible than that, right?
What you ask for is not what the libraries cater for. Is that really the role for the university to provide that? I mean, that kind of flexibility has been offered by libraries for generations.
Could be. I don't know. What I feel is that the way it is now is not flexible enough, or not for me the way I want to teach, not for my students the way they want to learn.
Yeah, but shouldn't that mean that we go back to how we had it 30 years ago, and just have the syllabus and the exam and everything else is optional? Doesn't that solve the problem?
But I don't think flexibility is being optional. It's more about systematic design of your instruction. Giving a balance to being in class, being outside class, doing or completing a task in one modality or another, or in one way or another. But I think in the past, as you described, we left students free to do anything without any pedagogical probably background or pedagogical logic behind it. I don't think we mean that kind of thing as an example of flexibility today. It's more about giving options that could enhance their learning rather than leave them free to do anything they want. I don't know if I could explain. Rob?
It's not entirely clear. I think you said two things. Yes, you can have different kinds of tasks for different needs, and then you talked about having one task which can complete in any modality. And that's where I really question you, because is it the same task when you change the modality? Isn't the modality part of the specification of the task?
But no, the modality is the way or the channel that students could work to make it accessible, to enhance the accessibility of it.
Yeah, but doesn't the modality change the nature of the task?
That's what we are trying to work on, actually. It shouldn't, because the same learning objectives are going to be achieved through the completion of the task. You're not changing the nature of it, but you're changing the way it could be completed by different students based on their needs and the way they want to access the task.
You can also adjust the task according to the modality. So
Yeah,
if you have the same intended outcome of a task, then
yeah,
the rules or the processes can be different depending on
yeah.
the modality. Back to your earlier question, George, it's going back to what it was 30, 40, 50 years ago or 200 years ago. That solves a problem if you are okay with the idea that universities were much more elitist back then than they are now. If we would have to undo the massification of the university for that to be successful, because back, say in the 70s, and in university pedagogy, it seems to be a division. Ireland is sort of an exception to this rule, but it seems that people older than I am in my field have this very romantic notion about the university being about freedom and about how students should be able to do what they want and find their own learning paths. And that's great if you're an exceptional student. And when they were in university in the 70s, there was mostly exceptional students at the university. But now we have some of those students in our classrooms. We have a lot of other students that aren't as prepared for university as students were then. And it's sort of, I feel it is our ethical and moral obligation that if we let students into our classrooms, into our universities, then it's our job to make them successful, help them be successful, not give them success, but to enable them to earn success. And so that, some of that is because of what I would call even evil neoliberal movements, but nevertheless, if we're going to let them in, we need to help them be successful at the level we consider to be successful, which is it changes the rules, it changes the needs, and sometimes they're not aware of that either. And so how do we make them aware of the things that can make them successful, and how do we make sure that we're leading them into being successful and that they know that this is what needs to be what they need to do to be successful? But yeah,
there's another aspect of this. If we went back to the old way of doing it, it would be the ruin of universities, would be the end of universities, really. And I think what we need to ask ourselves is, what is it to be a university today? What kind of skills do future generations need? And if we, as an institution, are not able to adapt and make sure that they have these skills, then university will be not anymore a realistic option, and companies will do this instead. They will develop their own universities and they will do this training. So it will be the end of universities.
You argue
Yeah, that's just scary.
Go ahead. You argue as if there is only one kind of students and only one role to fit here. And okay, first to what Rob said, I totally agree. But I think you run into an impossible paradox, because the freedom to learn has to entail the freedom to fail. So if we try to be flexible, but still so rigid that the students can't fail, I don't think there is a possible balance between those two.
I think that's where flexibility happens in what you started talking about. I mean, we're not obligated to pass them. We're just obligated to meet their needs to be able to pass.
Exactly. But now we try to give them that flexibility, that freedom, without giving them the freedom to fail. And I'm not sure that is possible at all.
I think students are going to fail. I mean, there are students who are going to fail, and they need to be, we need to make sure that they have that freedom. But we also need to make sure that students aren't as exceptional as the normal student was 50 years ago, that we give them the scaffolding, we don't carry them there, but we make sure that we give them the opportunity and the tools and the support they need to be able to get there on their own. Whereas, you and me and everybody else in this room pretty much could have been successful academically no matter what kind of teaching we were given, no matter what kind of system we were given. But a lot of students aren't built like us. And they don't know. A lot of it is because they didn't grow up in households where their parents went to universities, and all sorts of other sort of cultural, social factors. They just don't know what it means to be successful academically and what it takes. And I think we as institutions do a horrible job of teaching them why this matters. And it's why students come in, I just want a piece of paper. I don't want to learn anything. I just want a credential that I can exchange for a job. And that's our fault too. We train them to think that way. And we need to do a better job of training them to want to be able to think and learn and be intellectual and not just instrumental. And Trish, come on.
Well, if I can offer a small rejoinder, I think that if we admit students with a range of preparation and capability, and we know that, we've identified that because it was in their application package, we knew it from the start, but we accepted them anyway, we need to offer a range of support for those students, right? And that's one thing that creates for them the freedom to succeed or fail, right? That we can help them come in at the level at which they need to come in order to succeed. But if they choose not to avail themselves of the resources, if they choose not to leverage the new insights or new skill development that they have, that we helped them or made available to them to bring them up to par, then that's their choice. And so I hope that's just in my experience working with students from the doctoral level at highly selective institution where I am now, to working with undergrads who are very ill prepared for the university experience. I've seen that same ethos and that same kind of freedom / structure play out across the levels. I wonder what anybody else's experience is with that in practice, because this is one of those things that we can, have Illich and Freire and in our minds and think I want to, be a part of and build this sort of beautiful community, but it's theoretical, right? This learning world. But how many of us have done that in practice, and what have your experiences been? Because there's a lot of failure, but those failures bring new insights, yeah? There's failure on our part, meaning on the institutional side, when we're trying to do this to develop, to help, to level up our learners. So thank you for this conversation.
Thank you. And we are now past your time of indenture, as I like to call it. We can keep talking as long as anybody's willing to stay, but clock has run out on our formal time. So before anybody else drops, I just want to thank you, Ingrid, for a wonderful presentation and sparking a wonderful conversation. And look forward to future conversations with you and with other people who've been here. So,
Thanks. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, I really appreciate it.